Heya Cryptozens, welcome back to the Crypto Overnighter. My name is Nikodemus and we do crypto news analysis nightly at 10 p.m. And keep in mind, none of this should be considered financial advice. And it's Thursday, February 9th, 2023, Friday Eve. And I think I'm getting on the better side of this COVID thing. Day 4, and I'm pretty close to back to normal. So thanks for hanging in there with me. And now it's just in time for the weekend. And I think some people are hoping that the SEC is going to take the weekend off. Last night, we led with breaking news that Brian Armstrong was reporting credible rumors the SEC, the Securities Exchange Commission, they're coming after staking. Specifically, he was hearing that the SEC wants to, quote, get rid of crypto staking in the US for retail customers. Which, staking? Really? Come on, SEC. Anyway, Armstrong said that he hopes this isn't the case. He said, quote, I believe it would be a terrible path for the US if that was allowed to happen. And Armstrong trotted out the benefits that staking brings to the industry. A perfect example is Ethereum. Now, whether you agree with their move or not, staking offered a way off of the proof of work consensus method that has so many environmental groups up in arms. Also scalability, increased security, and providing user governance. But the SEC knows this and has known it. They just don't agree. They've indicated that they intend to treat proof-of-stake tokens the same as stocks, which is to say, they're going to be treated like securities, if Chair Gensler gets his way. Now, we know this from comments made back in December, signaling the SEC's intent to classify staking tokens as securities. In fact, back in September, Gensler said that proof-of-stake tokens could pass the Howey test. Now, the Howey test is what's used to determine if an asset is an investment contract or not, which we should talk about the Howey test for a minute, because I don't think he's right. So the Howey test came from a case in the 30s about this guy named Howey and some orange groves. The specifics of the case aren't really important for our purposes here, just the effect. The effect in this case was the creation of the Howey test. Now, the Howey test is made up of 4 parts. According to the test, a transaction is a security if 1. It's an investment of money, 2. If it's a common enterprise. Now, remember this one, it's going to be important. 3. If there is an expectation of profit. In crypto, not so much lately, but generally that's true. And 4. Those profits come from the efforts of others. Now, if all 4 of those conditions are met, you probably got yourself a security. Now, where is the common enterprise? Especially for a decentralized token with no issuer. So where's the common enterprise? Beyond that, when you're running a validator, you're rewarded based on your own efforts, not the efforts of others. And those are 2 key points to the Howey test. So this really isn't a surprise to me that Gensler is going this way. The SEC's been pressing forward with their agenda, taking a regulation by enforcement approach that has even drawn bipartisan criticism from the halls of Congress. The SEC has failed to produce a framework for crypto firms to safely operate under. Instead, it looks for people to fine. Armstrong said, quote, regulation by enforcement doesn't work. It encourages companies to operate offshore, which is what happened with FTX. Kraken's name also came up today in regards to the SEC. That's because the exchange has chosen to shut down its staking operations to settle things with the SEC. The settlement's already been voted on by the commission. That was in a closed-door commissioner meeting on Thursday. So what's going on is Kraken was under investigation by the SEC. And as a result, Kraken will be shuttering its staking as a service in the United States. Further, they'll pay $30 million to settle those SEC charges that Kraken offered unregistered securities. Payward Ventures and Payward Trading are the companies that make up Kraken, and they've decided to give up their staking service programs. Those programs have made staking available to the public since at least 2019. In their release, the SEC said, quote, the complaint alleges that Kraken touts that its staking investment program offers an easy-to-use platform and benefits that derive from Kraken's efforts on behalf of investors, including Kraken's strategies to obtain greater investment returns and payouts. In response, Kraken put up a blog post, and in that blog post, they said that any staked assets by U.S. clients will be unstaked, except for staked Ethereum. Now, that won't be unstaked until Ethereum's Shanghai upgrade happens. Further, as you might expect, U.S. customers cannot stake any new assets. So it's kind of like Nexo and BlockFi, except the difference with Nexo and BlockFi, your crypto was not automatically unstaked. You just couldn't add any more. But as long as you haven't pulled those assets out of staking, they're still there. This case is different because Kraken is proactively separating U.S. assets from the staking program. The SEC's tone was triumphant as they made much of the quote-unquote risks that investors take when staking their assets. They said that staking as a service providers offer consumers very little protection. Now, the same thing could be said of the SEC, given their regulation by enforcement approach to things. Chair Gensler said, quote, "Whether it's through staking as a service, lending, or other means, crypto intermediaries, when offering investment contracts in exchange for investors' tokens, need to provide the proper disclosures and safeguards required by our securities laws. Today's action should make clear to the marketplace that staking as a service providers must register and provide full, fair, and truthful disclosure and investor protection." Now, in the past, Gensler has said that he felt staking through intermediaries, like the service offered by Kraken, that might meet the requirements of the Howey test we were just talking about. He said staking looks similar to lending. And Kraken offered a number of services, both of the lending and staking variety. One crypto lending product offered up to a 24% yield. That's expected to go away. Kraken's staking service offered a 20% APY that promised staking rewards twice a week. That's probably not going to make it either. And all of this ends up being a really nice feather in Chair Gensler's cap. It just makes the case for his agency to march forward with regulating the crypto space. That said, this might just be the beginning of Kraken's troubles, because now the U.S. Internal Revenue Service has taken an interest in Kraken's affairs. And we know this because the IRS has filed for permission to have the court enforce their summons. And while this might seem like it's related to the announcement by the SEC, it's not really. The IRS first issued the summons for this information back in 2021, and Kraken's just not responding to it. So the IRS said that Kraken has failed to comply with the summons. They also haven't produced the books, papers, and other data detailed in the summons. In their petition to the court, the regulator said, quote, "The IRS is conducting an investigation to determine the identity and correct federal income tax liability of U.S. persons who conducted transactions in cryptocurrency for the years ended in December 31st, 2016, 2017, 2018, 2019, and 2020. So you see, this is a tax issue regarding who's paying and are they paying enough. This is not anything directly to do with unregistered securities. A spokesperson from Kraken did comment on this issue. They said, quote, "One of Kraken's guiding principles is maintaining the security and privacy of its client accounts. We understand that the court has expressed concern over the scope of the summons. The posture of this case has not previously given Kraken an opportunity to weigh in. We look forward to addressing our concerns to the court." Authorities in the United States and the United Kingdom have moved against 7 members of the Russian cyber gang, Trickbot. We've seen these kind of moves from the US before, but this is the first time for the UK. The British government's release on Thursday said the sanctions were part of, quote, "the first wave of a new coordinated action against international cybercrime." Now, Trickbot is a Russian cyber gang, but they have close ties to Russian intelligence. And I think they're kind of like the old privateers. You know, the government doesn't care if you steal, just don't steal from them. And we have reason to believe that they're working with the government because their attacks reportedly align with the state's goal of attacking the U.S. government. For example, during the worst of the COVID-19 pandemic, Trickbots out there shaking down hospitals and other medical facilities with their ransomware attacks. And those attacks scored big. Reportedly, Trickbot has over $700 million in crypto alone. It's the second largest group in terms of profit behind another name that we hear a lot on this show, the Lazarus Group. Now, these 7 members to be sanctioned vary between low-level functionaries to senior leadership. The Treasury Department's Office of Foreign Assets Control has added them to their specially designated nationals and blocked persons list, which means travel bans and some assets are likely to be frozen. Now, Bentley, or Ben, is believed to be the pseudonym of one Vitaly Kovalev, and while he's a senior leader in Trickbot, his relationship with cybercrime far predates his time with the gang, and he's just one of a list that includes developers, money launderers, and administrators. Now, despite appearances, all is not lost. The state of Mississippi may have some good news for us soon, for miners anyway, because their state senate passed the Mississippi Digital Asset Mining Act on February 8th. Now, there is a companion bill currently making its way through Mississippi's House of Representatives. Josh Harkins is the state senator who authored this bill, and it does a number of things for the mining industry in Mississippi, which you don't hear about it much, but there is one, because Mississippi has some of the lowest electric rates in the U.S. It just makes sense that they're building a crypto mining community there. All that aside, the bill said, quote, digital asset mining has often faced regulatory challenges at the state and local level. So this bill enshrines a number of protections for cryptocurrency miners. For example, they can't establish special noise limits for home mining that are stricter than the limits for everyone else. They can't impose requirements on miners that are different from the requirements on data centers. They can't just change the zoning of a mining center without giving both notice that the change is coming and a chance to respond. Further, it protects miners from the Public Service Commission. Now, in the state of Mississippi, the Public Service Commission is there to, quote, impartially, equitably, and efficiently regulate the rates and services of public utilities and common carriers operating in the state. So, in part, their job is to ensure that the people in Mississippi are being charged a fair rate for their electricity. Well, this bill prevents the PSC from imposing discriminatory rates designed to price the crypto miner out of the market. It also exempts both home and business miners from having to get a money transmitter license. And, perhaps most importantly, it provides a legal definition of what a virtual currency is. Also covered in the bill are orphan wells. Now, orphan wells are natural gas wells that still produce but have been abandoned. Like a lot of cases, they need to be safely drained off and capped. Now, that's one thing that crypto miners are really good for. You can set up your mining rigs to draw off of a generator on the well. In addition to being an efficient use of natural gas, it also makes the area safer by eliminating potential explosive gas leaks. Now, both the House and Senate bills mention orphan wells. Under consideration is a state digital asset mining council. That mining council would decide on using wells for powering crypto miners and other issues as they come up. The House's version of the bill has passed the Ways and Means Committee, but it has not yet been to the House floor for debate. I believe this law will put Mississippi in a good position for the future. This is in stark comparison to the damage that New York State has chosen to do to itself by passing a 2-year moratorium on crypto mining. That 2-year ban was signed into law last November. And that's going to do it for us tonight. I want to thank you, my listeners, because when you stop listening, I will stop talking. If you enjoyed tonight's show, then please like, follow, subscribe. Maybe leave a rating or review. In the meantime, we'll see you tomorrow night.